So um, pumpings are often things that are very overlooked. But if I could help you explaining a little bit what it is, I would break it down into a few different steps. Step number one for the young rider that has never really ridden a bike before, think of it this way. All you have to think of it is like almost like the suspension of a car. You know, when you're on the top of the jump, you have to be really low, and as you get on the bottom of the jump, you go really tall. So imagine that you have a rhythm section right here with a bunch of roller, okay? So imagine that your head must stay always at the same height. So if the tip of my finger is my head and my thumb would be my wheel, it's supposed to look like this, where the head always stays the same height, but as you arrive to jump, you just go lower and then taller, lower and taller, and lower and taller, and then so on and so on. And the idea is you just want to make that movement natural. You get on top of the jump, you go really low. On the bottom of the jump, you get tall. And so for the young rider, make sure you have a good form on your bike, very important. Wrist up, no wrist that looks like this on the bicycle. So make sure that your wrist is up, good flat back, and really practice that movement. So that would be the first step. Once you're able to master that and feel really good with your bike, then you can move to the second step, which would be pushing and try to gain some speed out of it. By the way, don't try to go through the step too fast. Make sure you really master the first step until you move to the second step, and to the second step, to the third step, and so on, okay? Or else you're just gonna create a bunch of bad habits, and you will carry those bad habits and everywhere on the track, whether you learn how to manual jump or anything like this. So second step, push. So now there are a couple of things you need to think about. So obviously pumping is not just a movement. You need to actually be able to gain speed, and in order to gain speed when you are on the track, you really need to push at the bottom of each jump. And so what we need to talk about when we do this is that if you have a roller, make it big so that you can see it well. So there's a lot of young riders that makes the mistake that even though their position is perfect, where they go really low on top of the jump, they tend to want to push the bike right when the landing starts. That will do nothing for you, unfortunately. What you want to do, the magic really happen, is if you push your bike at the bottom of the jump. If you do hang out at skate park a lot, and those half pipe and things like that, when you get into those skate park and you really push down, you will find that that's where the bottom of the ramp, when it gets to the flat surface and to the last part of the heel, that little roll there, that's where you're going to find out that you will gain a lot of speed. And so there's a lot of trial and error, but as you practice and practice, you are really going to feel the precise part of where you need to push. I can tell you right now, that's going to happen at the bottom of the jump, not at the top. So you go on top of the jump, you go really low and wait for the bottom, and then you push really hard and you really make a good push with your hand and your feet. As you practice over and over, you will actually feel it, and you will feel your bike getting faster and faster, especially in the rhythm session when you have more than one, so that you can just continue to do that. So that would be the second step that you're going to have to do. The third step that we're going to add to that is that it's going to be like a bunny hop when you actually get before the jump. So the perfect pump, if you see a lot of experienced rider going through a whole track, and you see them gaining so much speed right when the roller starts, is that what they're doing though is that they're never going uphill. Like if you think about a roller, you're going uphill, downhill, another roller, another uphill, and another downhill. But what they end up doing though is that their bunny hop, they lift their bike before the hill and land in the landing. So now if you see a roller go uphill, downhill, natural roller, what they end up doing is they never touch the uphill. So what end up being is just a downhill, plus they're pumping it. So no wonder why their bike goes from 6 miles an hour to literally 30 plus miles an hour so rapidly in only few free rollers. So they just push the downhill. So the idea is that once you get here, you want to bunny hop before the jump, and then you land on the landing. Make sure that you land precisely. You know, make sure you don't case, and make sure you don't land too far, because now you're losing your landing. And so that would be, once you are able to master that, you will really be able to go full speed out of your pumping. Now, as you get going through the rhythm section, if the rhythm section goes like this, and there's like tons and tons of roller, obviously once your bike get to a certain speed, you're not going to be able to do a full bunny hop. You're just not going to have the time to bunny hop over every jump, since they're so close together. So it comes a point where as your bike gets going, you just flow with the bike, you let it flow. But nevertheless, even if your bike is still slower and you do not have the time to actually get your wheel off the ground, you can still in a way make the bike lighter. So in other words, what I mean by that is this natural gravity. Take me as an example. I'm like what? I'm like 190 pounds. Okay, my bike what? Like 15 pounds, whatever. So let's make it 200 pounds. So on my bike, my helmet, on a good day, I weigh about 200 pounds with my bike. Okay, so think about it this way. If I don't have, so over here, obviously I would be 200 pounds, right? But if I don't have the time to do a bunny hop, I can still make the movement, and which is going to basically make my bike float over here. So my wheels still touch the ground, but I maybe only weigh 2 pounds or so. And then of course, then I push, and then over here, then hopefully you want to be pushing to make it even more than my weight, which is 200 pounds. But so as you do the movement before it, you may not be getting off the ground, but you are still doing the movement. And as you spend hours and hours in doing it, everything will feel so natural to you. All right. So then the third step on the scorecard, so once you're going to fill out your scorecard on the pumping, so on your chosen track, rider must ride an entire lap without pilling. So for most track, the way they're built, that will be a good challenge for the young rider, and to see exactly how far you can make it. If you don't make it through the whole track, that's all right. Find out on your local track, find out where does your bike stop, and make a point of it. And then every week, try to beat that. Maybe the first week you will, per se, there is a big triple, let's say, that you are not able to pass, right? Well, maybe in a week or two, you'll be able to pass that big triple, all right? So, and you'll be able to go further. So make it a goal to you. So obviously, if you cannot make through the whole track, you cannot score yourself that point. But you can still try to progress further and go further into your track. All right, so that would be a good goal for you. If you can make it to the whole track, have your daddy time you and try to make it faster. As far as the most experienced rider, a lot of these big pro out there, you may say, well, I know how to pump really well, so I don't need to really waste my time on that. But I would encourage you to still challenge yourself. As find yourself some game. Like, let's say, obviously going a whole track for you would be very easy, but think about it this way. Can you jump a certain double on your track without pilling starting from the gate? Let's say even a pro section, if you're this good, and let's say there's a pro section on the third lap or whatever, maybe not on the third lap, but on the second line, some pro section on the second line, some tracks on the third line or whatever. If the pro section is far, that means that you have a lot of time to pump, a lot of jump out there. So my challenge to you is that, could you jump that pro section? If it's not possible, which is often the case, challenge yourself differently. Okay, there's a rhythm section. Great. Can you, starting from the gate with just pumping, triple one of those roller? Can you, whatever you have to do, challenge yourself, and that will really increase your capacity of pumping and getting your speed faster if you are to master that technique of pumping at a pro level from a whole lap without pedaling, the speed has to be the exact same thing as if you were to do a full race with pedaling. Once you get out of those long rhythm sections, if your pumping is very accurate, you will hit that corner at full speed, and then there again to another rhythm section, you will cross that finish line at the exact same speed as if you were to be on a full race, full on pedaling. Okay, it'll just take you slower to get to that speed, obviously, but the finish line should be at your max speed. So for the pro out there that wants to practice that pumping, and those are your challenges. Find yourself a bunch of friends, you know, make yourself a bet. First one that jumped this double without pedaling. Play games that way, and that will really increase your technique of pumping. All right. So good luck with that. Score your point, and let's move on to the next movement.